Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtadra Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Can you give me a book, Saul? What do you say? Yeah, it's definitely noisy. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sixth canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, Prescribed Duties for Mankind, chapter 18. Deity vows to kill King Indra, and text 42. So if everybody could please repeat after me. Na hi kaschit priya strinam anjasa swashishatmanam patim putram rartaram ba nyata what is this? Gananti arte gatayanti cha nahi kaschit priyam strinam anjasa swashishatmanam patim putram prartaramba. What is it? Gyandarte gatayanti cha nahi kaschit priyam strinam anjasa swashatmanam patim putram prartaramba yantarte gatayanti cha. Okay, please chant.
Kaschit priyastrinam anjasa swashishatmanam patim putram bhrataram va anantyarthe ghatayanti cha. Nahi kaschit priyastrinam anjasa swashishatmanam
Okay, word by word. Na, not. He, certainly. Kaschit, anyone. Priyaha, dear. Strinam, to women. Anjasa, actually. Swa-ashisha, for their own interests. Atmanam, most dear. Patim, husband. Putram, son. Prartaram, brother. Va, or. Gyananti, they kill. Arte, for their own interest. Gatayanti, cause to be killed. Cha, also. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. To satisfy their own interests, women deal with men as if the man were most dear to them, but no one is actually dear to them. Women are supposed to be very saintly, but for their own interests, they can kill even their husbands, sons, or brothers. or cause them to be killed by others. Purport. A woman's nature has been particularly well studied by Kashyapa Muni. Women are self-interested by nature, and therefore they should be protected by all means so that their natural inclination to be too self-interested will not be manifested. Women need to be protected by men. A woman should be cared for by her father in her childhood, by her husband in her youth, and by her grown sons in her old age. This is the injunction of Manu, who says that a woman should not be given independence at any stage. Women must be cared for so that they will not be free to manifest their natural tendency for gross selfishness. There have been many cases, even in the present day, in which women have killed their husbands to take advantage of their insurance policies. This is not a criticism of women, but a practical study of their nature. Such natural instincts of a woman or a man are manifested only in the bodily conception of life. When either a man or a woman is advanced in spiritual consciousness, the bodily conception of life practically vanishes. We should see all women as spiritual units, aham brahmasmi, whose only duty is to satisfy Krishna. Then the influences of the different modes of material nature which result from one's possessing a material body will not act. The Krishna consciousness movement is so beneficial that it can very easily counteract the contamination of material nature which results from one's possessing a material body. Bhagavad Gita therefore teaches in the very beginning that whether one is a man or a woman, one must know that he or she is not the body, but a spiritual soul. Everyone should be interested in the activities of the spirit soul, not the body. As long as one is activated by the bodily conception of life, there is always the danger of being misled whether one is a man or a woman. The soul is sometimes described as Purusha because whether one is dressed as a man or a woman, one is inclined to enjoy this material world. One who has this spirit of enjoyment is described as Purusha. Whether one is a man or a woman, he is not interested in serving others. Everyone is interested in satisfying his or her own senses. Krishna consciousness, however, provides first-class training for a man or a woman. A man should be trained to be a first-class devotee of Lord Kṛṣṇa, and a woman should be trained to be a very chaste follower of her husband. That will make the lives of both of them happy. Om Jnanati Padandasya Gananjana Shalakya Chakshulamelitammena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karitavachalam Bhangam Langai Tegadim Yakipatamaham Bande Shri Guru Ndinitaranam Bancha Kapadivishcha Kripa Sindhabhyavicha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All right, translation again. To satisfy their own interests, women deal with men as if the men were most dear to them, but no one is actually dear to them. Women are supposed to be very saintly, but for their own interests, they can kill even their husbands, sons, or brothers, or cause them to be killed by others. So, Kashyapa and Diti, this particular chapter is describing how Diti wants a son or sons that will kill Indra, because Indra was the one who instigated Vishnu to kill her sons, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu. And here, in these last few verses, Kashyapa Muni says he's thought. He wasn't speaking to anybody. He was thinking these things. These particular verses, the last few verses that we read, including this one today. And yeah, it's, as Srila Prabhupada is mentioned in the purport, he's talking about a woman's nature and a man's nature. There's a lot of the Bhagavatam describes the different could say, natures of men and women and conditioned souls and liberated souls. There's a lot of comparison going on, or a lot of explanation, say psychological explanations going on. So yeah, in this particular purport, Srila Prabhupada's mentioning how women should be protected by men. A woman should be cared for by her father in her childhood, her husband in her youth, and by her grown-up sons in her old age. So that's the particular injunction of Manu, of the Vedic literature, is that they should be protected. Also, they're not the only class that needs protection. There's actually a number of classes who need protection. Does anyone remember those? Huh? You want to hand them the mic?
Animals.
Cows specifically.
Yeah, cows specifically. Domestic animals. But cows specifically.
Cows.
Elderly.
Elderly. Who else?
Brahmanas.
Brahmins.
And children.
And children. Anyone else? I guess it's just there's just a few classes who don't need protection, apparently, huh? Who are the few classes who don't need protection? The Kshatriyas? They protect. Huh?
Well, if they're Brahmanas,
well, the
or
Brahmins,
if they're old. If they're Brahmanas or if they're old.
Huh?
If they're Brahmanas or if they're old, they need to be protected. Or if they're children.
Yeah, so if I guess the Vaishyas and the Shudras and anyways, but so we see that a lot of these particular classes need protection, because without being protected, they could easily be exploited or abused. Just like in the modern world, it's a big mess. So much domestic violence going on. Of course, here it's saying that a woman should be protected by her husband, but sometimes it happens that the opposite's going on. There's abuse going on in the household, which we could see how things are so backwards. Just like somebody who's supposed to, somebody who's supposed to be protecting these different classes of entities, sometimes they could be abusing them. That's another issue. But provided one is healthy, provided one is Krishna conscious, then the protectors of these particular classes are, it's important that they're protected, because again, if they're not, then there is a strong chance that they'll be abused. So that's the idea behind. You say, well, why do they need protection? Because if not, they'll be abused or exploited. That's the idea. And Srila Prabhupada's mentioned here that without Krishna consciousness, or without the training of Krishna consciousness, or Kashyapa Muni is mentioning, and the purport Srila Prabhupada's elaborating, that without Krishna consciousness, women will you could say gravitate towards gross selfishness, and in very intense cases cause a lot of harm to, here it mentions, killing, this person, that person for their own selfish purposes. So, but without Krishna consciousness, there's going to be a gravitation towards selfishness. And in extreme cases, so therefore, and in the bodily concept of life, there's going to be that. With men also. This is, talking about women, but men also. And actually, I was thinking about it recently, and in a talk I was giving, Big Bear, California. We had a little gathering out there, but I was saying how if we study history, practically speaking, men have caused the most harm throughout history. Would anybody disagree with that? No? Okay. Mother Nature? Well, within the human realm, men have started big wars and, genocides, and it's, all of this is from different men, starting trouble. So we see that without Krishna consciousness, man or woman, they will gravitate towards gross selfishness, which is actually evil, and different gradations of it. In the bodily concept of life. So therefore, the idea is to vanquish this bodily concept of life, to get rid of it. To first of all understand that we're not the body, we're the soul, and that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it's our business to serve Him. That's what we need to understand. You'd say, well, I understand that. Okay, then why are we still following the bodily concept of life? So we need to understand it and realize it, and always be acting on that particular principle, that I'm a servant of Krishna, I'm a spirit soul, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and not thinking that I am a man, I am a woman, I am a brahmachari, I am a sannyasi, I am a vanaprastha, I'm a this, that, so many things, I'm young, I'm old, all of these different designations, because as Srila Prabhupada was mentioning here, I mean, it's very interesting how he said it. He said, whether one is dressed as a man or a woman. What is dressed as a man? So, what are you dressed as, a man or a woman? Probably. I'm just joking. He's not talking about transgender stuff. People nowadays may read it like that. But whether you're dressed as a man or a woman means whether the soul is covered with a man's body or a woman's body. I mean, you can think about it for a moment. You're the soul and you're wearing the dress of a man. It almost seems a little spooky, huh? Or you're the soul and you're wearing the dress of a woman. It's kind of... So, but yeah, again, we're not these bodies, and also the mind, which the mind is also a very powerful force that's been traveling with us, the soul, over many births, collecting all types of mostly useless information and experiences, but collecting all this garbage. Really, it's almost like a garbage collector, garbage receptacle, the mind. So the mind needs to be purified as well, because much of our, if not all of this, it's all revolving around the mind, the subtle body, intelligence, and all the thinking we're the physical body. So therefore, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, we're chanting every day, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we're chanting every day, Hare Krishna, Japa, Kirtan. We're trying to be enthusiastic. Utsaha Nishchayadarya Tat Tat Karma Pavartana Sangatyagat Satovite Shadbir Bhakti Prasidati. We're trying to be enthusiastic in the matter of following the rules and regulations. And simultaneously, we're doing that in a confident way, and simultaneously in a patient way. All of those have to be there. Patience, confidence, enthusiasm in the matter of following the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. Which will help us develop the higher taste, as we were discussing the other day, param drishtva navartate, that we will be able to give up trying to be the purusha, or the enjoyer of this world.
It's also like dress.
Huh?
Like dress.
Purusha. The dress of a purusha. Yeah. And then Srila Prabhupada says that Bhagavad Gita teaches there from the very beginning that whether one is a man or a woman, one should know that he or she is not a body but a spirit soul. Everyone should be interested in the activities of the spirit soul, not the body. As long as one is activated by the concept of life, conception of life, there's always danger of being misled whether one is a man or a woman. Activated. That's a very interesting term, Srila Prabhupada. Whether one is activated by the bodily concept of life. It's, everyone's moving on a particular, you could say, moving under particular conceptions or desires. Like we see that a greedy person is activated by the mode of passion to try to make a lot of money and enjoy this world, purusha, and not give a cent to anything, the Hare Krishna movement, or for that matter, anything good. They're just collecting, hoarding. So they're activated by the mode of passion. Or someone, maybe you could say, deactivated by the mode of ignorance, sleeping or whatever. So activated by the bodily concept of life means they're running on that. Just like a car, you could say, in one sense, is activated by gas. They're running on gas. It's running on gas, right? Or sometimes electricity nowadays. So we don't want to be activated by the bodily concept of life. We want to be activated by Krishna. And the soul is described as Purusha. They're trying to enjoy the world, whether they're dressed as a man or a woman. One who has the spirit of enjoyment is described as Purusha. So the spirit of enjoyment means trying to enjoy separately without Krishna is the main issue. It's the main problem. And due to having a hard heart, it's difficult to, you could say, relish Krishna consciousness. The kirtan's going on, and because of a hard heart, it's very difficult to get into it. Just like, and because one is habituated to be fault finder, it's also hard to relish Krishna consciousness. And because one may have hypocritical tendencies, it's also difficult to relish Krishna consciousness. I was thinking that the other day when my spiritual master was leading kirtan. He was leading kirtan, and I was thinking, I'm so hard-hearted. I'm such a fault finder. I'm such a hypocritical person. I was just thinking that to myself. I wasn't saying it. I'm saying it now. That I was seeing him relish, the kirtan, the chanting of the holy names he was chanting, and I was just thinking to myself, these thoughts. And the reason why I cannot relish is because of this. So you could say that's the main issue. And by Krishna's mercy, we may have made some progress in those areas. Right? Okay. Am I absolutely hard-hearted? Am I absolutely a fault finder? Am I absolutely a hypocrite? Well, so we made some progress there. There's different gradations, just like there's a Kanishta, fault finder, a Madhyama fault finder, and a Uttama fault finder, right? Where there's a Kanishta hard-hearted person, there's a Madhyama hard-hearted person, there's a Uttama hard-hearted person. I guess in this particular example, it'd be better to be a Kanishta hard-hearted person. Are you a Kanishta Adhikari? Yes, I am. I'm trying to, So there's different gradations. So, but we want to work on that. That's the idea. And that, therefore, we have the chanting, Chaito Darpana Marjanam, we're chanting to try to work on that. So, therefore, Krishna consciousness ever provides first-class training for a man or a woman. A man should be trained to be first-class devotee of Lord Kṛṣṇa. So, therefore, brahmacharya. Everyone should spend some time in the brahmacharya ashram. I think most of you have here, besides Krish. Oh, you have? Okay, there you go. Several ashrams, okay. I take back, I'll rewind it. Rewind, and I take back my statement. Okay? So just erase it. You can erase it from the record, what I just said. Okay, so everyone practically here has. We need to get a Tishta Giridhara, though. I know he hasn't, for sure, 100%. So everyone should be trained as a first-class devotee of Lord Kṛṣṇa. Well, that's another thing. What type of training did we get? Did we get training as a first class? It depends who trained us. Because we might have spent time in many ashrams, but did they train us as first class? What were they doing in those ashrams? So we need to be trained as a first-class devotee of Lord Kṛṣṇa. And it says here, women should be trained to be a very chaste follower of her husband. Of course, this nowadays is very unattractive for a lot of people, both of them. The man to be trained as a first-class devotee of Krishna, no thank you. And for the woman to be trained as a very chaste follower of her husband, no thank you. And then we wonder why there's so many problems. And even in the devotee world, people may think, oh, be trained as a first-class devotee. Okay, I don't know about that. I'll be trained as a devotee. I don't know about first class. That's a little bit too much for me. Take it easy. Slow down the process a little bit. We don't want to get too fanatical. And to be trained as a chaste follower of the husband, oh, well, why should I follow some guy and, he doesn't know what he's doing. I know that for a fact. And it's true because, unfortunately, nowadays, people are failing and being good husbands, which means good devotees. So naturally, women may think, well, why should I follow? But the idea is there. First-class devotee of Krishna, chaste follower of her husband, and they're working together to be Krishna conscious, to make their children Krishna conscious, and to, that's the idea. Which, it's a big topic, and we're about to run out of time. That will make the lives of both of them happy. So this is Srila Prabhupada's advice. So does anybody have any questions or comments? I think I might have offended Krish because I said he didn't get first-class training. Huh? Yeah.
The scientists, they'll say, give me one free miracle and I'll explain the Big Bang Theory and how everything was created.
Jai.
On the other side, religion, or you could say Krishna consciousness, says, give me a little faith and I'll explain Krishna. We can talk in decisive terms about going back to Godhead. We can go deep down the rabbit hole of flying, fire-breathing serpents, elephant head, demigods.
Lord Brahma and a swan.
Yeah, exactly. So we understand faith, or at least a common definition of faith is intense, a strong belief in God based on spiritual apprehension rather than proof. That's a common definition of faith. If I were to say that I have faith in you, I'll pray that one day I'll get your blessings, it'd be a little strange because I could just go to you and ask you directly. So the question is, the expression is often said, give an inch and you'll take a mile. So I can put my faith in Krishna consciousness. I could also give a miracle towards the material scientists and go down that direction. So is it just two sides of the same coin?
Okay, thank you. Well, yeah, there's definitely going to be, you could say, a need for faith because that's, you could say, what is actually, that's a daily affair, us having faith. For example, of course it may sound silly, but we have faith that we walk out on the patio and it's not going to, cave in on us, right? Or we have faith that when we get into our vehicle, there wasn't a deranged fellow that cut our brakes, right? Or that strapped a bomb to our car, and they're going to let us go down 15 minutes away, and then they're going to, set it off. We have faith that, those things, that's not the case. So, or we have faith that when we stop at or when we go in a green light, the other people that are coming this way are going to stop at the red light. Anyways, we have faith, right? So, yeah, you could say that both sides, the atheistic, materialistic side have amazing things that are hard to explain or maybe, can't be explained. And you have in the spiritual way, things are like that as well. It means they're both amazing. So then you say, okay, well, which one do you pick? And as Srila Prabhu would say, you judge a activity by its fruit, right? You judge an activity by the result. In other words, by the result. So we could follow this, atheistic, materialistic path, but you say, where does it lead? And you say, well, I don't really care about that. I'm a man of logic and reason. I don't care where it leads. Well, I don't think people actually operate like that. Like even if something was the best philosophy and the best, most comprehensive thing in the world, if it made you miserable, you wouldn't do it, for example. So, say, well, where does it lead? I mean, practically they haven't solved, practically their philosophy or their understanding of reality hasn't solved any real problems of life. And our particular one hasn't either. I'm just joking. No. But our particular one, if followed and if practiced, the results will be tangible, and we will be able to experience, the real happiness and joy and all those positive things that we need. And aside from that, it does make sense philosophically. There's so many, aspects of it that are, it's sound, philosophically sound. Of course, you could say, okay, what about all this, Lord Brahman, a swan, and all these different things. And Srila Prabhupada's particular advice about this, how to accept these amazing things, it was bothering one particular devotee. And does anyone remember what Srila Prabhupada said? He said, you just put it, in the back of your mind, put on the, back burner, as they like to say in America, just put it. And he asked him, do you like chanting Hare Krishna? And the person said, yeah. And he said, okay, you just continue with the chanting and, studying and following, and things will become clear over time. So, yeah. What do the materialistic, atheistic people promise? by accepting their view of reality and following it? What do they promise? Huh? They promise death. Okay, nice. They promise. But what's their? Do they have any other promises? Okay, so you just enjoy the material body as much as you can, and then you just die. So that's their like thing, you know. But I mean, actually, practically speaking, they don't promise what we promise, because they say you just enjoy their senses. But you if you ever hear them, they're never going to say, yeah, you'll experience unlimited happiness by trying to enjoy your body. They can't promise that because they know it's a complete lie. You can't. They can't promise that. And they also don't promise, as far as I've seen, I don't know, I mean, I'm sure people, there's all, but generally they don't promise you to have, you know, it's just kind of like they leave it up to you, you know. You just follow this, and whatever happens, happens, and you just try to make it own for yourself and just enjoy as much as you can and just die, you know. Whereas our promises are, okay, you'll experience this unlimited happiness, you will be peaceful, which is like, you know, anyways, it's there, but you'll be peaceful, and you'll get love for Krishna, you'll get love for God, and so, but we see that practically, devotees following the philosophy, they do get good results. Like one person was telling me years ago, they're in the ashram, and they were saying, he was saying, yeah, but when I engage my senses, it's so tangible. It's so like real and just wonderful. And I was just like, I mean, how, okay, you know, yes, there's some experience there, but I mean, in relation to the promises of Krishna consciousness, what we can attain in this life also, it's just kind of, you know, and unfortunately he was thinking like this. He was a young man, you know, talking about women. He's still a devotee. He lives in this ashram. I'm just joking. No, he lives in Tucson. So lives in Tucson. Anyways, he's a nice devotee, but this was years ago. But I was trying to explain to him, like, so anyways, that's a little bit about that. People write books about this subject. They give seminars. You know, this is just a short answer, just touching on a few points. So I hope that, I think Dravida Prabhu has some more.
Just one point on this. I remember back, you don't hear about it so much anymore, but back in the 70s, there was a lot of, and the movement was very aware of this, you know, life after death, that began with the near-death experiences, and then we had this Ian Stevenson, who was a psychologist who...
He wrote a number of books.
Yeah. And he went to India because he heard that there were these kids who were remembering, you know, their previous lives, claiming to, and he checked it out. And so what I'm saying is that when you read Bhagavad Gita and you begin to practice Krishna consciousness, the foundation of the whole thing is that you're not the body and you're eternal, and that you have past life and you'll have future life. Now that is not accepted by, you know, materialists and atheists and so forth, right? So that and it was fascinating that he came up with, and he proved by you know, empirical evidence for transmigration of the soul. You had these kids, and they were saying, yeah, my mother was over here, and there was no way they could find out, and he checked it out, and they was there in the name. And I remember, this was on recently, within the last year, Satyanandan Swami, he gets on, you know, this is a thing on dandavats.com, and he was having this whole seminar, but it was all about his own experience of out-of-body experience. He had a serious disease, he had an operation, he was in agony, he thought he was going to die, and then boom, he was free of all pain, and he was floating above his body, and he was watching and everything. And he was telling by his own experience that you're not the body, that, you know, life after death. So what I'm saying is that was proved that the body is not everything, the mind is not even everything, and that there is life after death. And that is for years, everyone, you have to accept that on faith, but the faith was confirmed that it's actually true. Now that doesn't prove that Krishna is God and that you have elephant heads, people, and Brahma has 4 heads and all these things. But the point is that it points you in that direction, and then then the real key is who are you going to have faith in? If you say, it's just a dream, that means Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, they've all been deluded. It's all deluded. Otherwise, you can have faith in, and millions and millions of people do.
Freud?
Donald Trump.
Freud?
No, it's a cult. No matter what he says, he's or a million other things that is coming down the pike. Empirical so-called knowledge. So you have to choose who you're going to have faith in, and what you're going to have faith in. And those who are fortunate, they choose the Bhagavad Gita and the line, and those who believe in it, and those who live it, and those who testify in their own life. Well, otherwise, you get Rupa Goswami and Lord Chaitanya. It's showing what you read in the CC. Oh, it's all just a story. They're experiencing all this ecstasy going on all night, and it's just a lot of No, sorry, I'd rather go with that route. Especially when, as you say, by practicing Krishna consciousness, even rudimentary, you experience so many of the benefits. If this is true, why isn't the end point true? And then you travel and you go to India. In Prabhupada's days, and you could see he's on a different plane, and he was proving the reality of the existence of Krishna and everything that comes from it. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, or comments?
Hare Krishna, thank you for this lecture and discussion. I want to share some thoughts that came during this lecture. That this comparison about like dress, our body, this body. But this is like this is like imagination of mind. We feel it. Oh, this is this body like a dress, but mind so strong, and he, how to say,
Convinces
us that this is only like imagination. I am body, and so like Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks in Jaivatharma. He said that when we hear some knowledge, this is only like. We should. This is not enough. We should to have our own experience of it, and to have this experience, we should be deeply absorbed in chanting Hare Krishna or listen pastimes of Krishna. Anyway, we should be in contact with Krishna in different way, and this contact can purify our consciousness, and then we can how to say, realize this experience, and our remembering of this experience will be inspire us to do it, this practice with sadhana, because of until we have not this our sadhana. We can try to do it 5 years, 10 years, but like you said, thank you very much. That is very nice. That you said, when after listen in Kirtan or Maharaja, you said that have so much hypocrisy, and this is big problem because of. our hypocrisy, we should how to say, recognize it and accept that I have it, and then we should ask help Guru, Lord Chaitanya, because of the process. Lord Chaitanya gave us process not to, how to say, anarhat katha. Yes, we have many anarchas, and if we will be analyze them, work with them, this is like not works. If we can see on this, in fact, this we can see that it's not works only mercy, and we should satisfy our seniors, our Guru, Krishna, and so this is a way, and we should do it, and to satisfy Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave the process of Yugadharma. This is dharma of this age, and we should do it. And I remember Rambhakta Prabhu, this is a disciple of Nityananda Swami Maharaj. He said that in Prema Vivarta there is one interesting point, that chanting kirtan in the temple, chanting kirtan on the street equal 1 hour, equal 100 hours kirtan in the temple. And so we should do it because of their mercy so intense that.
Is there a question?
Who is that?
Maitreya says, is there a question?
Okay.
Okay, Maharaj said.
Does anybody have an online question? Or a comment? Online question or comment? Okay.
No, anyway, I share what in my mind.
Thank you. Indriyamna Swami has this, I'm forgetting it right now, but he mentions it quite a lot about chanting japa and then kirtan in the temple and then kirtan on the streets, how there's a progression. Huh? He mentions this progression, how anyways, I have to not the time or the benefit, but something about the results, or yeah. Anyways, I'm forgetting though. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Hare Krishna. So if what Devotee said is true, and you know,
he's not here anymore, so he can't defend himself.
No.
I'm just joking. I'm joking.
I'm just supporting what he's saying. Then that means that whatever the materialists are saying is absolutely false, because they are saying that there is no life after death, and if it's been proved that these people have lived in a previous life, then and it's substantial proof. It's not just whimsical. It's very substantial proof that these people have lived in a different place at a different time, in a different body. So that absolutely proves that the materialists are wrong, because their theory, if their theory was right, then that could not possibly happen.
Yes. Maybe we should start calling him Bhakta Ian Stevenson. Huh?
You go.
Bhakta Ian. There's a lot of service for the devotees.
Yeah, right.
It's got a lot of benefit.
Point.
Yeah, so good point.
I tried to give him books, but he wasn't at the college.
Really?
Yeah. I regret not leaving it for the person that told me he's not in.
Really?
Yeah. I forget the university, but I was there.
Really? I heard he passed away. I don't know when, but that was some years ago when you went.
Seminar 2018.
He did a seminar? Oh, really?
On YouTube.
Oh, okay. Any questions or comments? Here? Karnamrita? You have anything? No? Okay. All right, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.